中の心と物質
Yeah.
You gotta vibe out.
I gotta vibe out. Just
gotta vibe out. So what did you want to tell me off the rip?
So I was welcome to the show. We were talking about what's happening on the earth
In our minds.
and why it matters. This is Earth Might Matter. I'm Frankie.
Welcome. I'm Javi.
All right, nice. And I was thinking that, the past couple of weeks, I've been just roaming around the city, right? Sometimes in the car, sometimes not. I don't have my license. And weirdly enough, in the vicinity of like 2 weeks, I saw, like, there was one day I saw some guy in a dress, right? Or, a guy who identifies as a female in a dress, right? But clearly
a person in a dress.
but a very masculine looking person
Yes.
in a dress, right? With like glasses and long hair, like white guy, blondish hair, dirty blonde. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I mean, I don't care. I just haven't seen her in a while. And it's New York City, so you see a bunch of crazy shit all the time. Not saying that's crazy, but then the next week I saw it again, right?
Okay.
Different guy, different dress, or different person, different dress. And then I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, a little strange. Like, it's still a little strange to see, you don't see it as often.
Yeah.
And, not that I'm shitting on wearing a dress, because that shit sounds comfortable as fuck, bro. Well, you ever wear a big t-shirt? That shit sounds cozy as hell. So, and then one day I went to go. So then that's my whole thought. I was like, damn, like, just, in general, people wearing clothes and whatever. When you're not wearing your what's it called? By like assigned gender clothing, it can be odd to people, and like some people get angry. And for me, I'm like, even if I don't care, like it's still strange to me. So that's how I feel. But I don't shit on it or nothing, right? But then I got high one day, right? And I was walking around and shit, and I got high, and then I saw it. And then I was like, you know what, man, fuck clothes. You know what, we can wear whatever the fuck we want out here. I was like, anybody could do whatever they want. He's just wearing his clothes, man. He just want to be comfortable. And I was like, yeah, we makes you a huge pussy. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. But like, it really did change everything in terms of my perspective. I was just like, yeah, like, bro, do whatever the fuck you want. That's like, and I mean that in a huge, like, realistic way,
right,
like,
of course.
Just like, it doesn't matter what you're wearing, like, I get people are very debatey with the whole like, oh, it's a guy, it's a girl, gender, this and that. I'm like, that's your own things, but I mean, clothes are just clothes, unless you're wearing a big swastika symbol. Of course we respect you. No kidding.
Especially not you.
Exactly.
But I think that's pretty interesting, because off the rip, just like, not even thinking about the weed aspect of it, but it's just, even for myself, I think it's funny to look at that, because there's this band that I've been listening to called Arcadia Grey. I've actually shown you them. I don't think I've shown you their music, but I've told you about them before. The lead singer is a guy who identifies as a girl. Okay. Her name is Cora.
Is that the person with the underhand, the huge tattoo? Remember we were watching the Green Day documentary?
No, different band. Okay. So yeah, this band Arcadia Grey, like, the lead singer is a guy who identifies as a girl, and she dresses like somewhat feminine, but like also kind of like tomboyish at the same time, and it's like it's kind of like a mix in between almost. And,
I'm so sorry. I have this fucking basketball game here, and I'm definitely gonna turn it off. I was looking at it before we started, and I might as well keep looking at it. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? My bad.
But I think that's pretty interesting, because it's like, as we've talked about during the Green Day episode, like, punk has always been pretty inclusive and things of that nature. So it's just, that stuff has always kind of been like embedded in sort of the things that I've been involved in, of being inclusive of just whatever you're doing. Yeah. So but I am glad that, like, that weed does bring that sort of kumbaya moment for people at the end of the day, where it's like, yeah, like, that's what I tell people all the time. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, if you identify as this or that, or you dress like this or that, just whatever. We're all just human. Let's just all just chill the fuck out.
And then a lot of people will look at that logic and be like, oh, you're just being a fucking liberal pussy about that shit. Like, you're just not like, it's not all peaches and cream. Yeah, and then, like, for me, it's just, I mean, it's so much more effort to just be upset about, those little things, like, I think most people, especially in New York City, just don't give a fuck about, like, unless you're like hurting people or like really just
unless you're doing something like
Yeah.
basically illegal.
Yeah, and it takes a lot to fucking annoy somebody in a train.
Yeah.
Like, you can literally do whatever you want as long as nobody's getting screamed at, hurt, touched, and anything. Even if you
Like-
smell like ass.
Like that fucking dude who was sleeping on the bench that I showed you.
Yeah.
Yo, what a fucking scumbag. What a piece of shit, dude.
Yeah, but I feel that weed does really give that approach, and even when I smoke, I get just a little more like, I miss you, baby. I want to, like I just, like I get more sentimental and stuff, and it's fucking awesome. And when I've been going to the movies and shit, right? I don't know if I told you, but I didn't get high for like the last two when I went to go watch Love Lies Bleeding and something else. And I was like, bro, what the fuck am I doing? Like, this fucking sucks. Like, the movies are great, but when you're high, they're like so much better. And I guess it was great to go and not be high because then I get to experience the movie like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think when you watch a movie high, unless you're like obliterated, blasted, like 5,000 milligram edible,
Right.
I don't think a movie makes a movie. I don't think smoking makes a movie better. I think it brings out the best things within the film, And I mean, I watched Sasquatch Sunshine, like I just told you, and I won't ruin nothing. But that movie, you gotta go see high. They even encourage you going to watch it high in the trailers, not trailers, but the social media posts.
Oh, really?
They were like, bring a bud E or two, with the weed emoji and stuff like that. Which is, kind of a little corny, but I was like, I'll follow that, And I smoked. I went to watch it, and I was like, I wish I was higher to watch this, And
So,
I don't know.
So by that logic, when we watched Cocaine Bear,
fuck that. Just OD. It's crazy, bro. One of us should OD on the show, and the other should have Narcan for the views. That's as New York City as it gets, drugs wise,
and just act like nothing's happening.
Let's just move on.
That's it.
That's crazy. I heard when you smoke crack, it comes on very fast. I don't know how true that is.
Yo, have I told you that like smoke?
Just smoke crack?
No, but like that smoking around my job, like when I smoke weed and like or whatever, like around my job's neighborhood, like sometimes people think I'm not smoking weed.
But this smells so much like weed. They just have to be dumb.
It's happened twice now where people have asked me seriously, like, "Yo, that's just weed, right?"
Yeah.
And I'm like,
well, that could also just speak to the neighborhood, It could be also
without a doubt. And it's just like that's crazy. And I'm just like, yo, like you're like, what have you seen that you think that like some fucking dude like me is gonna just be like out smoking crack in the middle of the street? Like, what the fuck?
You just have your bong with you, middle of Harlem, just. I can't fucking make the noise. Something like that. What's it called? No, I remember a friend of mine told me a story where this is my homie, but he also sold me drugs. Well, weed, not really. And he told me that he was hanging out with a bunch of people, and it was kind of like a little off, the vibe. Because bad people smoke weed too. And at one point they were smoking, and then some guy pulled out like he was blowing a joint or a blunt. And then he got cocaine. He just spread it inside the blunt. And
shit!
And then he was like, "Yo, I'm out of here. Like, I'm getting the fuck out of here."
He said, "I'm gonna head out."
And I didn't know you could smoke like.
I didn't know that
coke.
either.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe it could have been something else he was putting on it and stuff. But I don't know. For me, that's something crazy. And I still, man, cocaine is the one thing that doesn't appeal to me whatsoever.
Yeah.
Just because I'm so scared of fentanyl. Like, I'm scared of fentanyl in any sense. Got Mac Miller. Definitely got me. Rest in peace.
So like, you guys are like the same person.
Yeah, man. So I'm staying away from that shit. And I think Oregon was
I did notice that a part of you was almost missing after he passed away.
I was really sad. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was really sad. I got a class. I got the text from my cousin. He's like, "Yo, Mac Miller died." I was supposed to take my other cousin, his younger brother, to the concert to go watch Mac Miller that year. We were both like super fans. Like we were both
Holy
huge.
Shit, dude.
Yeah. So I told him like we're going. He's so excited. And you can't get mad at Mac Miller, But I was like, fuck, I was like, God. But I mean, it's like the one show I wish I could still see,
Yeah.
It shit really fucking broke my heart, man. Damn. But Oregon, right? Oregon decriminalized all drugs, and they just reinstituted. Was it reinstated?
Reinstated
The criminalization of the drugs because so many people were dying, bro. And I think there's a difference between legalizing and decriminalizing,
right?
But yeah, that's why when people are like all drugs should be legal, like that's a tough way to really navigate.
Well, how do you feel about like certain states now experimenting and like certain places around the world like experimenting with like a psychedelic therapy?
That's fine. I think when I was in Austin, they had offices that said psychedelic therapy and stuff. I think that's fine. I don't consider. I mean, LSD, yeah, but I don't consider mushrooms drugs. You know, I think just like weed, like they're plants. I mean, they're what's the fungi and stuff. So I think they're naturally and they just have certain effects when you eat them or when you smoke weed. I think the LSD thing, only thing is that it's man made. I'm not taking away from it. I'm just saying that's the only thing that
you're totally shitting on it. Totally.
This whole thing has been just a protest against no, but then I think anything that's man made is a drug. I mean, anything that's a drug is man made. No, I could be wrong. I mean, there's definitely things that are shaped in pills that are just completely natural. You know,
that's true. Yeah.
But
like fish oil and shit like that.
There was a long time ago. This you gotta really look this up. But ultimately, like the real, like what's the word?
Definition?
No, general chutzpah about the whole thing. I couldn't think of it. Chutzpah is that before when weed was still illegal, and still is in certain areas, but there was places that were trying to help you get over like weed addiction or something.
Yeah.
So they would give you artificial weed that was created in like labs and stuff, and it would be terrible. It was like pill form weed. I forget what it was called. But that was the thing that they were distributing to people to get over weed addiction, right?
Yeah.
And people were like, "This is so much worse." They were like, "This is terrible."
Yo, I'm like, it's like when you take alcohol away from an alcoholic, like when you make them go cold turkey. It's like you can't really do that even if like weed.
Yeah.
Like.
But the thing is that this thing that they were giving people it was literally artificial and created with the whole shit ton of things that were supposed to emulate what weed is, but was nothing like it. And it had terrible effects on people. Just so you wouldn't smoke regular ass weed. And I know there is pills that is just weed that can get you high as fuck.
Yeah.
But man, what? That shit was fucking
shit.
Those shits must be crazy, bro. Edibles are wild.
Yo, I remember when I was in Cali, like the first dispensary that we went to, we bought like this juice thing, this like infused juice thing.
That shit's crazy.
That shit was like super strong, and we fucking was just down in that shit. We were fucking zooted, my guy. We were on another planet that night.
But you know what else is crazy? Those beatbox drinks.
Yo,
man. Here we go. The dog face motherfucker. That motherfucker is selling death, bro. Bro, I was in Philly and I was drunk as shit and I was good the whole trip. Nothing bad, nothing crazy. Finishing that off with one of those. God damn, I woke up like I was like, what the fuck, Call bro? It was crazy. Every time I have one of those things after drinking, they're just they're bad vibes, bro.
I have those beatboxes at the festivals that I've been to and shit, like because they get promoted at a lot of the festivals that I go to. So it's like for when I went to the one in Atlantic City for Jason Fest, I had like 4 of those. I was fucking gone.
They're no joke. They're no fucking joke, bro.
I was gone, dude. I can't believe I was still conscious by the end of the night.
Man, it's so strong.
And fucking, and then in Vegas too, dude. At one of the venues there, they had them for $10.
That's great. It's still worth it though.
$10.
Still worth it.
It's and that shit's like 11%. You're literally like
a dollar.
You're
per
saving
percent.
$1. You're saving $1 on percent per alcohol.
Yeah, it's so worth it. Even though, of course, they get so expensive when it comes to concerts and stuff like that. But man, those shits are deadly, bro.
Oh yeah, dog.
Shout out Dogface.
But you know, I got.
Oh, also Lewis. Shout out you, motherfucker. Thank you.
Thank you, dog. Thank you. Thanks for listening.
That's
oh, you know what? I'll do another shout out real quick. Nicholas, always love you. But on top of that, we've also shouted out Ashburn, Virginia before, but I also forgot to shout out Akron, Ohio.
I hate that place, bro. Don't shut that shit up, bro.
Yo, man, don't talk about them like that.
No, that's crazy. LeBron James, he is from there.
LeBron
people
James.
from Akron must hate that meme because it's probably so annoying.
Yeah. Probably overused.
It's probably like the song here, the New York.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks.
But that's like the only good thing to have come from Ohio.
That and potatoes.
No, I'm kidding. I think Tony.
Do they do? No, wait, is that
that's
Idaho?
Idaho.
Yeah. Damn.
Tony Hinchcliffe is from Youngstown, Ohio. I think so. He's a comedian. He was just featured on Variety magazine. He has a show, Kill Tony. He's a stand-up comedian. I've seen him plenty of times perform-wise. He's fucking awesome, hilarious motherfucker. Yeah. Congratulations to him. So that's a congratulations to you, Ohio. I hope I got the right thing. Imagine he's from fucking Dakota. Nah, he's from Youngstown, Ohio. He was saying that, this is just spewing out what he said on a different podcast, but I'll say it to you, that they were very poor when he was younger, you know?
Okay.
And so I think like they were so poor that I think his windows had like bars, you know? And or something like that. But regardless, his house had got robbed one time. And there was like some performance he did for his school, like those shows you do for your school and everything.
Right.
And I think that was within one of his like cameras, and they came in and they had robbed that, so that footage is gone forever.
Wow.
Yeah, like so if it wasn't that, it was something along the lines of that. And it's
that's trash.
Yeah, because it's not really about the equipment, really. It's more so like the memories. Yeah, like you took that away. And yeah, he lived in a very rough neighborhood. So
I'll relate that to there's this band that I really like a lot. It's a ska band called Streetlight Manifesto.
What is ska? I always forget what the fuck that genre is.
Oh, yeah. Bro, you don't know what ska is? You know what? While I explain it, I'm just gonna throw on a song by them real quick, just so you have an idea of what ska sounds like. Yeah. But it's like it's rock mixed with classical instruments.
Okay.
And so,
because I've heard of the genre and I've maybe heard the music before in passing, but I've never like specifically sat down and said, "Let me listen to some ska."
This is like their top song, "Caspi Nights."
It's I'm just a teenager. Okay.
So like they kind of have live classical instruments like that mixed around with like rock instruments, piece and stuff.
It sounds like the beginning of a Wii game, like a very default Wii game.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Carnival City. Okay, so this is ska. All right.
So these guys are fucking awesome. Yeah. But they are also notorious for constantly getting robbed. Like it's happened. Yeah, man. Like it happens. It's happened at least like 3 or 4 times now in their career where it's like their equipment.
The band is called ska, or the genre is ska.
The genre is ska.
Which
the band is called Streetlight Manifesto. So the band Streetlight Manifesto is notorious for getting robbed a lot.
Yeah.
Where it's like it's happened at least like 3 or 4 times in their career where it's just like their equipment just gets fucking jacked like out of their vans or whatever the case is, like and just shit like that. And it's like I guess like because it keeps happening, people think that they can keep doing it.
Yeah.
And that's so shitty.
Yeah, of course it is. What the fuck?
Like, dude, imagine that, man. Like, talk about like memories. Like, imagine, like, if someone fucking robbed like my guitar, I'd kill him. Just shake. I'd be like, why are you running? Why are you running?
That was perfectly timed. Oh yeah. I mean, I get worried about that. Actually, funny enough, which is not funny, but one time I think we were, me and my friend Chris, we were leaving high school, right? And something. We're walking together.
Not funny.
Something. And my friend Fabian, his house got broken into, and he loves video games. Sorry, Fabian, if you don't want me to say that, whatever. Anyway. But he loves video games. He's fucking amazing at video games, bro. And he's one of the coolest motherfuckers I ever met in my life. Chris, Abe, Fabe, all these motherfuckers, Guido. Some of the best people in my life ever. But this is when I was younger, and I think Fabian had his house got broken into, and they took a bunch of his video games, you know? And like, if it was any other friend and they took a bunch of his video games, like, I'd be like, oh, damn, I feel bad. In general, I feel bad you got your house broken into.
Right.
But because he's so good at games, like, you know, like I'm talking, he excelled in them, you know?
Right.
That shit hurt me almost.
Yeah,
although
damn,
I think when Chris told me, or one of us told each other, the other laughed. But we only laughed because we were just like, that's so random.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you're like, hey, what happened? I'm like, oh, bro, somebody kidnapped Peanut. And he's holding him hostage right now for $100,000. You're like, what the fuck? Peanut's my dog. You get what I mean?
Everyone who didn't know that is like, what the fuck?
Who the fuck is that guy? No, but it's, you know, when something's so random, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, man.
But see, like, just there's little things like that. Like, I mean, those things suck, and I get paranoid, bro. I get paranoid at night. I used to do so more when I was younger, but I didn't lock the door. So I would wake up midway through the night, and I would literally just go to the kitchen, make sure I lock the door, and then I'll go back.
You
to
know,
sleep.
I've actually heard that it's a psychology thing that people like to sleep with them being able to face a door. That's why, like, basically in every single bedroom, the bed is always going to be facing towards the door.
Really?
Like,
what the fuck? Why?
Like, it's just like a psychological thing in people's heads where it's like we want to be able to
have an escape.
Yeah, like not even have an escape, but be able to at least like see where our perpetrator could be coming from or whatever the case.
Oh, that makes sense though. But I also feel like anywhere you sleep has a door. Right?
Well, but I'm talking about the direction that the bed is faced, or like where your pillows are faced. So like think about like over here where like my pillows are on that side and the door is right there. Yeah. And then similar to
your pillows are also on that side.
Motherfucker, I put it here when it's when it's a studio, okay?
I don't know. I mean, you're probably right. I feel like there's only four walls.
I'm just telling you.
Four walls to a room, one out of four possibilities that you know.
Yeah, but motherfucker, how many times you like sleep where you're not facing the door is the point.
I'm not facing the door when I sleep. I got two windows next to me, bitch.
Boy, oh my God. Whatever, man. Anyways, so I got some news topics for you. You ready for this shit?
Yeah. Those random. Talk about weed dresses. I'm just a Tina, Fabian, Ohio. Akron, Ohio, thank you for listening. Anybody that's listening, thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
But, so I got two topics for you today. I haven't really decided which one is like less or more important, to be perfectly honest, because I kind of really like both of them a little equally. Okay. But I guess the quickie will be more so about what I posted on my Instagram story a couple days ago about the net neutrality.
Oh yeah. I was like, what the fuck did you post?
So I wanted to talk about that because this is actually something that I've been following since I was like in high school.
Since that guy who was saying, I forgot what his name was, but he was basically on TV for politics. So vague. Wow. But he's like he's some Middle Eastern guy who was the spokesperson for like getting rid of net neutrality or some shit like that. Yes. Remember, what was his name? Something.
I forget his name exactly, but I didn't necessarily want to talk so much about like the people that are behind.
No,
like,
but and of course not. I just want to bring him up because that's where I learned what net neutrality is. Right. I'm gonna try to explain
that guy was a huge fucking dickhead. Yeah. But go ahead.
I'm gonna try. I think what net neutrality is basically right now you pay for an internet speed, right? And then you're able to get that, and that's it. But in the future, getting rid of net neutrality would be that you would have to pay more money for faster internet speed. If you pay like a standard rate like you do now, then it can get lowered, and you would basically have to pay more to experience more internet. And then does it have to do also with blocking you off from certain sites, or like some companies have access to some sites and some companies don't?
So that is included.
That's my gist.
Yeah. So that is included. So like. On top of that as well, big thing too is that ISPs, which are IPSs, like
internet service providers, right?
Yeah, ISPs, internet service providers. Another thing that they'll do with this as well is that they'll throttle your internet as well. Yeah. And throttling is essentially slowing down your internet, just because, like, say, hey, you haven't paid your bill on time, and it's like, say, like you're a couple of weeks behind, they might slow down your internet just to fuck with you.
That's stupid too. And then that happens even now, right? Because right now
it's happening now.
Yeah, because that makes no sense. It's like it says you may experience slower internet speeds because your bill hasn't been paid yet. It's like the mafia. It's like saying, like, you know, like, you might get a flat tire too, you know.
So that's a huge thing. So that's why net neutrality was so important to try to bring into the space. And another thing as well is that with net neutrality, what they want to do as well is that in a perfect world, internet should be included in, say, your utilities bill. Like, we shouldn't really have like ISPs, like companies running our internet stuff, because in this day and age,
just as useful as light, water, gas.
Exactly. In this day and age where it's like it is just as important as those things. So it should just be included as a utility at the end of the day.
That like a apartment building provides you, or a house provides you.
Like Con Edison or whatever, your shit like that. Like
that
gas
is interesting.
And light, and things like that. So that's a huge topic with net neutrality, where it's just how do we find a sort of middle ground where it's like, you know, there are companies that are completely built off of just being ISPs. like what happens to companies like Verizon or like Spectrum if they can't sell internet anymore?
I think they eventually will all merge into one thing, and then they'll just do that. Like they'll become the utility bill in the future.
So I mean that could definitely happen down the line.
That's my prediction.
That could definitely happen down the line, but that also could be a very scary thing where it's like a monopoly of sorts, where it's like, you know, I guess we don't really have that concern to Con Edison because Con Edison works more directly with like states and whatnot.
So that's what I was thinking, because when you were saying that, I'm like, Con Edison is definitely that though, right? Like,
yeah,
you know?
but it's like they work more directly with the states and whatnot. So it's like a government sort of like operated business. So that's why it's also
like infused with what they're like electricity. I mean, you know what you mean?
Yeah. So
like how water is provided by the state, right? The Con Edison through the government can provide you electricity.
Yes.
Like that.
That's why it's also really scary, and that's why Con Edison will always try to tell you like be careful and be wary of like people who fake being Con Edison people, because
they could just
like,
get into your house and steal your shit, right?
Yeah. So that like that's why I guess maybe not a lot of people really think about that.
No, but that can definitely, that's crazy you say that, man, because the other day, today I was thinking it's so crazy you say that, but this is like kind of similar, but they had a marathon today, the Brooklyn Half Marathon. I was like, what the fuck's happening? But then I wondered like if some cop wanted to come into my house, right? And they were like, oh, we're here for the marathon. This is literally a dream I had this morning. And in the dream, I tell him, I'm like, who are you? He's like, we gotta get to your roof. And he's dressed as a cop. I'm like, yeah, but what are you? Like, why do you need to come to the roof?
Right.
And they're like, oh, we just have to. And I'm like, can I see like your name, your badge number?
Right.
And then the cop is like, look, man, I can just get somebody else to open the door for me. And I'm like, yo, like, I just want to make sure you're an actual cop, you know? And then I'm like, I can call the precinct. And then I woke up. But then, yeah, like.
He really hit you with the.
But I was thinking, I was like, if this guy came in, went on my roof, and I let him go, and then he assassinated somebody, like, is it my fault? Well, I mean, obviously it would be his because he's impersonating a cop.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's also why a lot of people are really wary when it comes to like delivery people, like with food. Like, don't get me wrong, I deliver things on Monday, you know, so I want to deliver
for this guy.
I want to deliver to you so you give me tip. Like that's the whole point. You know, it's like a server, why they're nice to you. They don't give a fuck about you, you know? Like I'm sure they're like, you know, decent human beings that are like want to welcome you, make sure you have a good time. But at the end of the day, that extra kindness they're giving you, that smiling they're giving you, they want money from you, bro. They literally are begging you for money. I'm begging you for money.
This guy wants your money.
Yeah, so, you know, but what's it called? But yeah, definitely people can fake just who they are and just enter your house, right?
Yeah.
Especially older people, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. And so it's just, I think the very interesting thing with that whole case is that, again, going back to the idea that like maybe internet should be considered as a utility bill. Now that net neutrality is being restored through an FCC bill, we're finally coming back to this idea of like, okay, how do we try to get to that point? And it's a really interesting conversation that's happening now in the councils and whatever, like the fucking councils of lizards
of Ragnarok.
And so it's just, I find it really interesting because again, I've been following this stuff since like high school. I actually wrote a paper about this back in high school, but like in high school, it was so difficult for me to explain it because I didn't know how to like word it because it is such a big like topic. Like,
and it's a topic at that time for the future because this is something now the internet is becoming more and more encapsulating in terms of like the society we're in. It definitely, I think something like it will eventually happen, you know, just because it makes sense for bigger companies to take advantage of people like that financially. You know?
And so it's just that's something a lot of people didn't really realize that was happening with their internet stuff, or like really realizing that like, hey, this doesn't have to be like this of just like your internet being throttled or you being like denied access to certain sites just because like your providers won't let you. Like that shit's stupid.
In Texas,
like that's gatekeeping.
Yeah. In Texas, I think they banned Pornhub or something like that.
Bruh.
Yeah, I think one state, there was a state, it could be another state. But there are certain states that ban Pornhub, and then one of them in particular, once they did, VPNs rose up, like skyrocketed.
Yeah, I fucking bet, dog.
People were like, yo, bro.
Yo, I'm trying to watch porn, dog. Like, porn is literally like half of the internet traffic.
Yeah.
How the fuck are you going to block that? Like, come on.
And then we got the TikTok ban, like coming in like soon.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, man. I still think that's fucking ridiculous.
And the guy that created it or whatever said that he'd much rather just shut it down from the US and then like sell out.
Yeah,
so
but I'm sure that won't happen because there's so much money on the line for that whole, company and stuff like that. I don't think that will happen.
So it's just who knows what's gonna happen with that. But it is an interesting thing where it's like, I feel like right now the government, they're just all over the place here in the US where it's like
it's so hypocritical of freedom of speech. Like it's the one thing conservatives like really fucking have aside from bearing arms, Then you got school shootings. But literally TikTok is saying like, I want to be able to dance in these videos and do blah 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 blah, and these motherfuckers are like, no.
I mean,
you can't do that
because a big argument behind it. That's what the government says.
Well, I feel like that's bullshit, man. Because they want China to sell, so we can have ownership of it, so they're not spying on us and shit like that.
That's what they say.
Yeah,
but a lot of what people are saying online too is that it really is just because of the fact that TikTok is revealing and showing a lot of the stuff that is going on in, say, like Israel and Palestine.
I think that's completely bullshit. I think
I don't know, man, because because if you look at apps like Instagram that now have those like filters where it's like you need to turn off.
I'm not saying that it's been hiding stuff forever. Aside from the Israel Palestine stuff, it's been hiding stuff since forever. Like it hasn't not done that for a long time. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that when it comes to TikTok, the whole spying thing is real. Like that whole in the terms and conditions.
No, I understand that.
Yeah. So I think
I'm not saying that's not happening.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying like what a lot of people are like adding to that with that online is
it's a conspiracy.
That is kind of a conspiracy where they're kind of thinking.
Well, I don't know. I just think
where they are just kind of thinking that like with Instagram, Facebook, U.S. owned company and things like that, that the
like
US
censorship.
The U.S. the U.S. wants to be able to have control over TikTok, so that way they can have like their say of what happens on the platform.
Yeah,
and it's just.
I mean, we still are able to do that. I mean, I think. I'm not trying to like come at people that are saying that we're being, but like in China, they're actually being censored. In Russia, they're literally being censored. Like here, things are being hidden, but that's how things always are when everything, like the news, it's not just like social media, it's all the internet. And that's why it's so important for you to reach out and find your own news. And that's what angers me about that whole situation is because so many people are like, oh, well, my algorithm isn't showing me this and this because they're blocking it from me viewing it. And I'm like, bro, so then go look for it somewhere else because there are other sites that have all this information for you. You're just too lazy to get out your daily rhythm and scroll through TikTok. You want Israel and Palestine the same way you want, hey, 10 ways to make cupcakes out of recycled bananas. You know what I mean? Like you want that muffin. You want all that together to your conveniency. But if these topics really matter to you, then go search for them yourselves on other sites that have them like crazy, man. I think that's what people are lacking the most. Don't get me wrong, I get it. I don't know. I'm not passionate right now for no reason. But like,
I mean, no, I like.
Does that make any sense though?
No, it does. Like, listen, I understand that entirely, but like, at the same time, like you said, the convenience of it, like you do have to think about that. Where we are in a day and age again, where it's just with social media apps kind of running a lot of shit nowadays, where it's just the best way to get content out to people or like news and media and things like that is probably going to be through social media nowadays.
Yeah, but that more faults the people than it does like the actual news. That's the people's flaw, and people should fix that.
Well, without a doubt, but that's just how humans are built.
It's not. I think that's how humans are molded if they're vulnerable enough to allow themselves to be. I think the way people are.
I guess that's kind of what I mean when I say that like they're built. Is just like we have been sort of, I guess, like in the lamest way of saying it, brainwashed to just kind of like do these things, like to just go through social media and whatever. And it's just like to even bring it back to sort of like the net neutrality conversation. It's just like with that, I really hope that if net neutrality is like fully restored and if we can really push that to an idea where we have a free internet for all, like that could be a fucking phenomenal thing where it's just like we can actually be able to spread that information out and do that without any sort of censorship or anything like that. But that's in a perfect world like that. Who knows what's ever going to happen at that? But it's the whole idea of censorship nowadays is
Man, there is censorship. Don't get me wrong. It's not like there's none.
Yeah, like
and I got mad energy because of the coffee. So
But like the whole idea of censorship nowadays in today's society is becoming more and more prevalent.
Yeah,
It is happening
absolutely.
with like these wars that are happening across the world now. And it's just when I have seen memes of like with the whole TikTok ban stuff where people are saying like, oh, like we're banning TikTok because they're spying on us. And it's like, people are like, yeah, but you know, Instagram, Facebook, this and that, they all spy on us. And it's like, yeah, but they were made in the US.
So that's okay.
So it's just, there is that sort of joke about it too. So it's like, it really is like, again, it just kind of seems like the US just wants control.
If I were to ask you this, if you had to be spied on by anybody, right? Of the two, would you rather be spied on by the US or China?
I mean, probably the U.S. Like,
so just, what are you talking about? No, I'm kidding. But isn't that kind of funny? The answer, I would probably say U.S. also. You know, which is fucked. Yeah, it's so fucked to say.
Like,
you know
that, and it's just but even when I do say that, it's like the censorship would still happen if the U.S. owned TikTok, and that's why I bring up the conversation that people are having online of like, if the U.S. owns TikTok, what is going to get censored from us?
But the censorship, I still think, is so completely different. I mean, it is. I don't think it is completely different from China's. We were talking about last week,
right?
Where like they even have what's it called on their Chinese TikTok? It's a different name.
Yeah,
they have like 1 minute dramas, and those even have to be revised by the Chinese government because
everything has to be revised.
They have to make sure they're not enforcing an unhappy family within the show of Chinese families, you know, like that's not happening here, you know. And it's like, I think we're not being censored here, it's being hidden, and I think there's different things,
you know? I think it is interesting that you even mentioned that example, because I guess you could say America used to be more like that, like when you think of, say, the nuclear family.
But I think that was more norms in society rather than a propaganda or anything, you know. I think that was,
dude, you don't think that was propaganda?
Not at all. I think I mean I think it rises from like war and stuff like that. I think it comes from history.
Watch the classic hit Indiana Jones Kingdom and the Crystal Skull starring Harrison Ford and Shia LaBeouf, and you will see how during the 50s and 60s that shit was a brainwash.
Well, what I'm trying to say to you is, of course, in terms of like how can I explain this? Like, yeah, I think that was evolving American history. I think that's where it sprouted from. Like, men go to war, women stay at home, and then this and that. They have children and dog. Even when I was a kid, I was like, I want a wife and a kid and a dog. Like, I want a nuclear family.
Talk about what we were just saying in the beginning of the episode of like wearing different clothes and shit like that. It's like, you know,
well, I'm not crazy. No,
like social norms and stuff like that.
Well, I think what I'm trying to say with that whole thing is that, like, it's not, I mean, it is propaganda to an extent, but I think if you look at today's media,
what is propaganda? Listen, Earth, Mind, and Matter.
If you look at today's media, and like now that's all changed, you know, but now you have couples that are like lesbians or gay couples or like non-gendered children. I mean, you can call that propaganda as well. And then now if you do that, people call you extreme, you know? So I think that's just an evolving society, and I think that's how we're interchangeable through history. But again, it's not like how China is making it seem like it. Again, they're really cutting edges in terms of what you can put out there.
No, I mean, I completely,
and
I completely get
think
you.
it's generational in terms of like media, specifically towards like TV and.
I mean, it is generational. Yeah. Like I'm not disagreeing with you. I was just kind of relating that to like how I feel. That's what like TV in America was like back in, say, like the 50s and stuff.
I think what was most popular. Well, with the 50s, I think also there were less. What's it called? Minority actors, and there was also this, and you know, so it was just, again, that was where we were at the time, which is not great, which is not, is, you know, this is not, you know, maybe America was greater, but no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Imagine that was my whole point the whole time. I was like, you know, we just the good old days.
Like, eventually you just kind of stop and you're like, guys, I think I'm voting. I think I know who I'm voting for.
I'm quitting it. No, but I think what was it called? It's just, that's history displaying, you know, the true colors of people in America, you know? And I think we're past that. But I think because of those laws, because of where we were at that time, that was the media that was, you know, published because of it. The result of that history's, you know, society, you know? Whereas now it's like, okay, which people, what countries are like literally cutting you off from being able to observe this, like Russia saying that we're winning, we're winning
both
the war.
Russia and Ukraine,
Yeah.
and whatnot.
But again, who gets most of the blame? Russia, right? By Americans, because we're funding Ukraine with money, you know. So we're supporting Ukraine. So we view Russia as bad, but war is bad. And one main thing I've heard people say a lot is that.
Wait, did you say war is bad?
One thing I've heard people say a lot is that liberals in the past were always anti-war, right? They're thinking about Vietnam, like bring the troops home, this and that. And now with Russia and Ukraine, people are supporting Ukraine defeating Russia, right? Like liberals are saying, hey, Ukraine, go kill these Russians, you know? Like that's, so you get this advocacy of war when in the past it wasn't so prevalent and fucking liberals.
It's like you were just saying, like a generational thing of just like how things change over time. And
it's just interesting altogether. And I got the zoomies, bro. I'm so fucking my whole rant of everything is just that I'm confused myself. You know,
this is a pretty loose conversation about it, but I mean, because I guess that's why I wanted to consider it more of a quickie, but I still do feel very passionate about the net neutrality thing.
And it's major, man.
Yeah, because like that is mostly the gist of what net neutrality is, just a free internet for all. That's the big idea of it. Just imagine no company owns your internet. Like it's just a utility bill alongside your gas and your water and this and that. That's the gist of net neutrality.
But then you got to worry about just what's that word? Making sure no fucking people get into that. You know,
like hacking it or whatever.
Yeah, that gets real scary.
I mean, hacking is becoming way more prevalent nowadays too. So it's just, but that's why I say it's like in a perfect world that would all work out. But
it's not a perfect world.
Yeah, you know? And it's like, and who knows how long it'll take for us to even try to get to anything near that. Yeah, because like regardless of how advanced the internet is when it comes to politics.
It's just bullshit. It's fucking prolonged bullshit to get no results.
Yeah, you know? Like we're still like 20 years behind when it comes to politics, and it's just like
we got old fucks in that building just doing nothing.
They're like, wait a second, Pornhub? Nah, I'm not okay with that.
Get that shit out of here.
Like I'm just imagining I'm imagining some fucking 97-year-old dude. He's like, okay, let me look at Pornhub. Let me see. All right. Okay, I like that intro.
Oh my darling. What are you watching?
And then he hears
what are you doing?
And he's like,
bro.
Whoa. We do not do this in the South.
And then he gets 10 minutes in, he's like, maybe we do.
and then by the end he's like
that's what I'm saying, bro. I don't know. I think the internet, is gonna be so crazy in the future, man. It's gonna be way crazier than now. And even now it's still at a base level form, you know?
Yeah. The next topic that I got for you is still tech based. Yeah. This one I have a little more info about because it's a little more fleshed out. Yeah. But this one is about a VR again. So what I wanted to talk about on with this topic is that Meta, who does the Quest headsets and stuff, they are now, what they're essentially doing is that they're taking their OS system that is on the Quest headsets and making it open platform. Meaning, the gist of this is that other companies can now develop physical VR headsets that'll run with Meta OS. Ooh. And so that sounds great and all, right? But do we really want a world where all VR headsets are run by Meta? So it's a real monkey's paw situation.
So are you saying like it's like the iPhone software? Like you're free to use, you're free to make anything that contains software that runs like an iPhone, but you have to use Apple's?
So no, imagine it more like Android, like how Android is an OS, an operating system, but you have like different phones and different manufacturers that make different Android phones.
So you're free to make any phone that... you're free to make any phone and you can use the system, but it has to be Android system, right? Okay.
So, not that it has to, but it's just the idea is that
if you're using this software system, what's it? I know what you're saying.
I'm gonna break it down for you. Break it down for you. I got you, dog. So basically, what's going on is that Meta announced that they are the first step in this big like letter that they had is that the first thing that they're doing is that they're conjoining their App Labs tab and their main app store, meaning that in the App Labs, that's where a lot of games and experiences are in beta mode and things of that nature. So they're kind of hidden on the App Store in Quest OS. Yeah. So you kind of had to dig through it and stuff. And so there's a lot of games out there that are in beta or just not fully finished yet that are really, really good that people are missing out on because it's just kind of hidden in the App Store. It's almost censored.
I'm going to ban headsets.
And so that's the first step that Meta announced, that they're conjoining the two libraries together now. So now all the apps will just be in one big app store together. So you'll finally be able to see all the apps together.
Have access to them and stuff like that.
Have access to all of them immediately with no issue. So that's the first step that they made. And that's good. That's a good thing. We want that.
Yeah.
The next step that they announced is that they were now rebranding their OS system from Quest OS to now Meta Horizon OS.
Okay.
Now Horizon is also the name of their little VR chat like game that they made.
Yeah.
Horizon, Meta Horizon, I think it's just called, but that's essentially like their version of VR chat.
Okay.
And so they are really pushing this Horizon thing because that's what they want their metaverse to be. They want it to be Horizon. So they even made a little badge for it that's going to come on the boxes of like VR headsets that are now going to be manufactured.
Yeah, where you can enter this metaverse.
Yeah, and it's all run by like Meta OS. So there will be those badges on the boxes of these VR headsets in the future now that are running that OS.
Gotcha.
And so to break it down even more of what this means essentially is that when they announced this, they announced that they were rebranding this because they are now making the OS open platform.
Yeah.
Like similar to Android, how say you have Samsung, you have Google, you have Huawei, you have Oppo.
They all use Android.
But Android all runs differently on each of those phones. Okay. So like Samsung they basically call them like skins. So Samsung will have their own skin over Android. It's still Android, but it's like their take on Android.
Gotcha.
So that's what's happening with the Meta Horizon OS now coming to different VR headsets.
Okay.
So Lenovo and Asus have announced that they are working on headsets of their own that are going to be running this OS. Yeah. We don't know what the OS is going to look like on these headsets just yet. Okay. But we know that those are going to be the first two headsets to be out with this OS, with the badge on the box and everything. And Meta sells this as this idea of like, we are trying to make it easier to make VR accessible to everyone because realistically, because Meta is so huge, they have the money to just shit out to make these headsets as inexpensive as they are. Because $400 for an all-in-one headset, pretty good trade. Yeah. That shit has me like... So it's like, even 5 years ago, no one would have expected that we were going to have an all-in-one VR headset for like $300-$400 that is as good as it is today.
What's my thing? What's the problem? What's wrong with this? You know?
So here's the monkey's paw situation because I'll get to it in a sec, but it's just, it's expensive to build VR headsets. Yeah. That's why Meta can just shit it out, produce them inexpensively and stuff. Like they can produce them inexpensively and whatnot. And it's just, you have to think about too, like developing the software for it. That's a whole other expense on top of the physical aspect of making a VR headset. Yeah. So they sell it as like, hey, all you guys have to do now is just build your own headsets.
You can use our shit.
And you can use our OS.
Yeah, which is an option. It's not obligatory.
Yeah, not obligatory. Okay. It's an option. So that's a whole cost that a lot of companies now do not have to worry about, where they're just like, oh, okay, we'll just run your OS and not have to worry about that. Here's where the monkey spot situation comes in. As I mentioned when I started the topic, do we really want a world where all VR headsets are running Meta OS? Well, because Meta as a company has a very bad track record.
Yeah, but what's it called? But they can also just not use it, right?
They can also not use it.
So I feel like
you also have to think about companies are going to company.
Yeah.
So they're gonna, if they can save $1 by just using another company's OS, they're probably gonna save that $1.
Well, I feel like we have no choice in that question. Then, do we really want? I feel it's gonna happen. You know,
that's exactly the monkey's paw situation, where it's just like,
what other servers are there?
At the moment, there's Pico, which is I think if I remember correctly, a Chinese company. They have their own OS, and like the thing too as well is that with having your own OS in the VR space, Valve and Steam is another VR OS operating system as well. So like when you have different operating systems, you can also have exclusives to those operating systems. So Meta has a lot of exclusive games to their OS.
Yeah.
So this is also good because it's like now these exclusive games will be available on other headsets that aren't just Quest headsets. But again, do we want everything run by Meta?
I feel
and again, like you said, it's not really up to
I think
us.
it's inevitable. I
It's
think
gonna happen.
I think unless you're rich, like you don't have no choice. For me, one thing I've been seeing, there's one quick thing where I saw that Meta has kind of moved past the VR thing and is focusing more on the
AR.
I thought it was the car, but I think it might have been the opposite. They might have moved past making a car and just focusing more on VR. Anyway, but I think so. I saw this streamer called Ice Poseidon, right? He was. I still watch him even now. He's pretty popular. And he was in Japan. No, he was in Europe, right?
Okay.
And he was just roaming Europe wearing the VR glasses the whole time, right?
Gotcha.
The Apple ones, Apple Vision Pros,
Right.
and the whole perspective was through the glasses, right?
Right.
And so, it really was one of the cool things that it's on Kick. So his chat, I think, was showing on the thing while he's walking around. So you're seeing what he's seeing,
Right.
and then also he can see himself through the glasses. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to get to is that eventually these glasses, I don't really look at these glasses as like for games anymore.
Yeah, man.
Like I think initially a lot of people, in my opinion, were faulting it for not being able to have games. But I think we spoke about it where this was always meant to be more of a thing you instill into society's regular functions. And for when you were talking, I think one of my thoughts went towards VR glasses being given to schools for kids with disabilities or for them to learn much easier or easily. Jesus Christ.
Fucking throat singing over here.
And I think eventually public schools will have, public VR headsets and stuff. And I think they're going to come from Meta regardless because it's the most popular brand. It's like Dell laptops,
I mean, I think what's interesting about you saying that is because it's like you say it's probably going to be Meta, but like I immediately thought, I was like, I don't know, could also be Apple. Like think about all the schools that have like MacBooks in them.
Yeah, but Apple's
like
more expensive. I think so.
But then also,
you're saying that it's cutting costs, so if it's cutting costs on the people making them that can use the server,
you have to remember,
it's cheaper.
You have to remember that there's a twist I have with the story as well that I'll get to in a sec. But with the Vision Pro, you have to remember it's super expensive because it is first gen.
I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying it's always going to be more expensive though.
It will be more expensive, but at the same time, on top of that, Meta does have their Quest Pro, which is $1,000.
Yeah, but again, even with that logic, given and also showing Apple's track record of lowering prices at an extremely slow rate, even MacBooks that are new that have very little change in their software are still priced the same as the previous generation. Schools are probably going to end up using the company that only had to pay for the physical aspect and used Meta's software.
Yeah, no,
and
I
then,
mean,
any government places, colleges, anybody that think it's like Android, it's cheaper, so it's going to be utilized more.
I just think of like again all the MacBooks that we've seen in school and shit like that and whatever.
Yeah, but we've seen more Dells than we've seen MacBooks.
Maybe it could be a class thing. Maybe in like rich schools they're gonna have
for sure rich schools,
and then like at LIC they're gonna have Quest.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. That like the really rich schools will have really refined personal headsets, or they'll just be like, hey, one of the things we're gonna need for you to buy your kid for this semester is Apple Vision Pro, and then I think that'll be it. And I do think in the future, school will not be handwritten notes no more. It'll be just iPads.
I mean, that's already happening now.
I mean, because it's more efficient, and but it's also more distracting. You know what I mean? It's also this and that, but that's what kids are like leaning towards. I just think that with this, it's inevitable, unfortunately, because we're not all rich and we can't afford Apple products. Or private. It sucks.
And so here's a big twist with this story too, is that in the works that people not a lot of people know about, but is kind of, I believe, a huge driving force behind Meta doing this is that Samsung and Google had announced that they were doing a partnership earlier this year where they were releasing their own VR AR headset.
It's crazy.
So imagine a VR AR headset run by Android, like you were just mentioning. And so that's what's happening. And it's just, I think Meta is doing this because since Android is already open platform, I see it as like a race. Like
Oh yeah,
it's doing this.
I mean,
'cause
this
they're
is a
like,
race to the
shit.
moon. This is all
Yeah.
a race to the moon to see who dominates this area. But I think it's gonna be slow moving because how can I try to like relate it? But the VR headset is not as applicable as iPhone. You know, so fastly. If that makes
Just
any
yet.
sense. Exactly. Like, yeah, I think in 1,000 years, everybody will be wearing one. You know, I think everybody around
I
us.
think it might be sooner than
No
1,000
way.
years.
There's no. I don't even think in our lifetime that you'll see more than. I mean, you might in certain events and time, you know, like you will. But I think for it to be as normal as having an iPhone in your pocket, I think that'll take a very long time. Just because it's going to be so expensive, you know. And you'll see people with cheap ones, but I think it's useless. You know, there's no. And obviously, I think I'm on the side of being wrong here because technology is moving so fast and society is too. And AR, I think, is way more interesting than VR because it'll save a lot of space. You know, like it'll save a lot of space in terms of like, why build this building when we can just virtually express it ourselves? Like, why rent out this area for a showcase when we could just do it in the park and just let everybody use, you know? And AR is, for people that don't know, is like, it
Augmented reality.
exactly, and it shows you what's like something that's there that isn't, right?
Like, I mean, there actually have been VR and showcases,
Yeah.
art showcases before and stuff because there are art apps in VR that people can make art within VR.
And it's so funny that people would appreciate that, but they'll hate something like AI. Oh no,
It's not the same thing, It's not the same thing, motherfucker. In AI, you're literally just typing in a sentence. Motherfuckers
Artists
are still using
petty.
their
Artists
hands.
are so petty. I saw an Instagram ad.
Punk ass motherfucker.
I saw an ad yesterday, Instagram post yesterday saying that new movie Civil War was using AI posters, movie posters, and all the artists from the comments were like, "Wow, I can't believe they're doing that. Imagine how much effort they're putting into the movie." No, I'm kidding. I'm completely kidding. But it was a whole back and forth where like people were saying that this is very lazy of them, and they were like, "Why don't they just hire people to make the posters?" And other people are saying, "Well, like, yo, we what's it called? This is just the posters. Like, there's a whole movie, you know."
Yeah.
And I couldn't really find myself in the middle. Like, I do love AI because I think it's amazing, and there are fucking crazy, just crazy films now that are being produced through AI only. And yeah, and I think that's cool as fuck. And honestly, what would you say if somebody like Stephen Hawking, right, who's unable to use any of his hands to draw or paint or anything, and then what if he uses AI to express what he wants to have become visual or audible, and it's something so beautiful and amazing that it was the first AI creation through his voice? How would you feel about that? Is that art?
I mean,
It
not
is.
really.
What are you
Like,
talking
'cause
about?
It's just still just typing in a sentence.
Yeah,
dog.
but it's
Like,
still like it's the same. It's the same thing. If nobody has ever created that, if that was something that came out only through somebody's imagination,
but it's just that's the thing with AI. Like, at least in its current state right now,
Yeah.
none of it is original. It takes from like
I'm pretty
things that
sure.
are
I'm
out
pretty
there.
sure all artists will say nothing is original with what they create as well.
I mean-
Everything is influenced from the past thing.
Yeah,
you know?
but it's literally been proven that these AI
Yeah.
bots like do take from
Yeah,
other artists.
I'm not
and
saying
stuff.
they don't. I'm saying, but there's going to be AI that doesn't do that, right? There's going to be AI that uses a
Yeah,
feature.
so that's why I mentioned in its
Yeah,
current state. It's
exactly.
just like
That's why I think people are big haters on AI, and I think like it's like I don't know. I think that's gonna be done very soon, and I think all artists should appreciate art. I think that's the whole point, and I think you can't call AI not art, especially if it's using other people's art. You know what I mean? Like, that's still technically art. You know,
I don't know, man, because that's
Yeah.
like that's almost like a collage at that point. Because
which is art.
Not really.
Yes, it is. If
Like,
people have art projects that are collages,
like,
you know, like
a collage is super low effort.
it's art. It's art. You know what I mean? That's exactly what it is. Like, golf is a sport, so is basketball. Both are fucking hard, right? But one seems more simple than the other, right? I mean, modern art is a circle, right? That's the same shit as fucking the Mona Lisa, right? One took more for the other.
Like,
I think that's what it is.
I know exactly what you're getting at.
Yeah.
I do. I really do. I just like at the end of the day, I can't like,
Yeah.
you know, just, and that comes from just being an artist myself. I'm
Of
just like, I
course,
can't.
That's why I love saying the whole thing. 'Cause
Like,
yeah.
I just can't agree with
Yeah.
him. Just like, you know, you typed in a sentence, dog. Like that's all you did.
Uh-huh.
Like I do appreciate AI for what
Yeah.
it can do. for other aspects and things like that. But when it comes to the AI art conversation, that's where I lose it. Where I'm like,
I think for sure in the future, a lot of people that think that way are going to regret it because it's going to be able to open up so much doors for people. In my opinion, I mean, I'm not sure. We could go a little longer too because I know you have a news topic and stuff. But yeah, I think, but it's going to be crazy, right? Like those things are going to be so wild in terms of just
everything,
right?
Yeah, I mean,
holy shit,
like
bro.
that was honestly the majority of like that topic there because it really is just kind of coming down to the fact of like what is going to happen now, because this is a huge turning point in the VR space where like VR is not in its infancy stage anymore. Yeah, like
I think it is kind of
I don't know, man, because like
like toddler stage. I think it's a toddler. I can't say toddler, right?
But because I've told you about how I had the original Oculus headset, like using that to my Valve Index,
it's
like
crazy different, right?
Massive gap, and like I haven't even used an Apple Vision Pro. I can only imagine how mind blowing that shit.
But again, the beginning stages, so I feel like it's all gonna get crazier, dog. I feel that Futurama got it right, where in the future it won't be VR headsets, it will be eye installation things. That's going to be.
I mean, that is the goal. Yeah. Like that's like I think one of the craziest devices we've ever seen that was just too advanced for its time were the Google Glass. Yeah. If you remember that,
I do.
Where it's just
YouTubers were using it and trying to promote it. How do you feel if it was instilled in your eye for VR? If it was safe?
I guess I'd be a little scared about that.
But would you be like, kind of like for it or against it?
I would need. I think I would need some convincing.
Oh yeah. So how do you feel about Elon Musk's Neuralink?
The implant. We talked about that.
But tell me, how do you feel about Elon Musk's Neuralink?
I mean, I think when I mentioned it last episode that they're doing that because
did we talk about last episode
on the news episode? Remember when we were talking about AI in the workforce and I mentioned about the Neuralink implant? Yeah, because like
I just know you hate Elon Musk a lot, so it's a riled up episode.
But it's just I do think that's like a really interesting concept. I really would like to see where that goes. I don't necessarily know the full details of how Elon Musk wants to implement it into, say, maybe his own businesses or whatever the case is. But it's just like, I would just like to see where it goes.
I think it eventually gets government controlled, the Neuralinks and stuff
like
that.
Even down to like Apple Vision Pro, like I said, how you can do everything with your hands and your eyes and shit like that.
It's so crazy how accurate the hands things are.
And they're bringing. I've told you, I think off air, how are bringing some of that technology to the Apple Watch, where you'll be able to sort of just click your fingers as like an accept option, like when notifications come up, like say someone's calling you, you can just click your fingers to accept the call.
I think those Apple Watches things are going to be a thing of the past in the future. I think it will be a ring. It'll just be a ring.
Those already exist.
Yeah, but I think it'll be in the sense of much more like whatever you're getting from Apple Watches, which isn't so much. I think people with smartwatches, like I remember I wanted to get one, right? I was like, oh, what can this be used for? I'm like, this is so dumb because you have a phone. You know what I mean? Like you don't need an Apple Watch. And Android watches are so much better than Android watches, way better than iPhone or Apple watches. They do way more. They're much more what they're supposed to be, utility. And just unless you're getting that $7,000 Apple Watch that you can go underwater with.
But that's like that shit's like gold.
Yeah, it's so fucking stupid. So,
but I mean, because even with that, like I don't necessarily think like Apple Watches are really gonna go away or like smartwatches are really gonna go away. Just because I feel like it is such a staple of like what people like to have, like a watch in a certain sense, and like smartwatches are just sort of like an enhancement of that in a sense. Like some people would agree or disagree with that. Like it was taking like a watch and saying like, hey, what more can we do with this?
And then the answer was not much. Not much.
And so the idea of like smart rings already exist. There are already smart rings out there, but it's just I think people like having a screen. I think people really like having something to look at.
I think smart rings, what can they do mostly? Heart rate and stuff like that.
Like
right?
smart rings are more like health related.
Which again is like I think what I mean by the ring thing, I think Apple Pay would be so much easier with the ring. I've seen so many people use an Apple Watch or an Android Watch to pay, and it is the most awkward thing in the world. Like I work with it, right? So you see people go, and they're like, and they try to pay, and I'm just there like, bro, just fucking pull out your credit card or some shit. This is, and I think a ring in the future would be more better. Like, you know,
Just
bing.
fist bump the thing.
Hell yeah! Oh shit! And then how Amazon is doing the palm thing.
Yeah, but
That's crazy.
they're actually getting rid of that.
Why?
Because people were fucking robbing their stores.
Yeah. Oh,
people were
that's
getting
true.
away with that shit.
Did I tell you with the whole Walmart thing where now they're charging? You have to be a Walmart Plus member or something like that.
Yeah,
to be
we talked about that. Yeah.
But yeah, I just think in the Apple rings, I think also like the hologram aspect of things. I think that'll be better. Or if you do have a VR, whatever is shown on your ring is you know, personal to you. But I think the watches will go away and the rings will dominate or something, or a bracelet that like hologram and everything.
Right. I think MKBHD on YouTube had a pretty good sort of like idea where he brought up the spectrum of VR right now, where he said like right now you have the Vision Pro on one end, and then you have like say the Quest on the other end, like something super expensive and something super inexpensive comparatively, and it's just now they're trying to find a
middleman,
a middle ground in between that.
There,
Like, how do you find a headset in between there? And it's like, and then obviously, then when you look at the Apple Vision Pro on its own, Apple is trying to push that as far as possible to get it down to basically that eye implant, like from Futurama and everything. It's just the goal in the future for VR and AR headsets is to basically just have glasses.
Basically,
or like lenses.
Glasses are like the smallest before it gets to inside of you.
So it's just that they're just trying to push that as far as possible. And so that's why it can be a little scary. Like and I wanted to bring up both of these topics because I feel like they kind of correlate with each other.
They do ultimately, yeah.
And so it's just it can be a little scary to think about how like these companies run these VR headsets that are gonna basically take over our society. And it's just, what company's gonna be in your fucking brain like 100, 200 years from now?
What do you think about when the idea of them getting rid of people being able to drive and all licenses will be revoked and it'll just be just electric cars navigating traffic and stuff?
I've actually read an article once that explained that would be more efficient.
And I'm not, that's one thing that I'm like, whoa, but I also kind of like the who would you rather be spied on? It's kind of like that where I'm like, like it does sound like it would save a lot of lives. Like DUI wise and like stupid delays in traffic.
Yeah, the traffic is just like where it would essentially be way more efficient because it's like
and you can track any crime happening in those cars.
Like because the article that I read, this was like years ago when I read this article, but that article I read even had like a sort of engine model that they created specifically for Manhattan of how like traffic would look like if everyone just used like say rideshare apps instead of driving. And it's just, it looked like there'd be a lot less traffic. It would be a lot more efficient throughout the city.
Imagine police chases. This is I heard on Joe Rogan, but they were saying like it wouldn't be a police chase. It would just be like, oh, that car is gonna follow me to the precinct now. And you have no choice. You're just sitting there.
Just like imagine GTAing someone and you fucking get in that car and you're like, hey, and the fucking car just goes, nope.
Oh my god, do you think that'll happen in the future?
Oh yeah, dog. That's like cyberpunk, like all the way. Like,
oh my god, the future is great, and I wonder if anybody hears this in the future, unless they get rid of all the podcasts that have come out and stuff, they'll be like, look at these fucking idiots,
look at these fucking cavemen. If we're gonna be in the fucking the Guggenheim 3000.
I'm gonna be like, and I'm just
it's gonna be like a beautiful portrait of us in the Guggenheim 3000 of us doing the fucking
with Brugal. That shit is crazy, man. Future's wild.
Yeah, dog. But those are the topics I got for
nice.
you. Yeah, I really wanted to bring back some tech topics.
Okay.
haven't done one of those in a minute. And I was like, you know what?
It's about damn time.
Let's talk about some tech. Well, I say not in a minute. I talked about RCS coming to the iPhone.
Yeah, you basically talk about tech.
But I wanted to talk more about VR.
Okay.
That was a big thing I wanted to do. I want to bring back some VR topics because I think the last one I talked about was about the death of Neos VR, if you remember that.
Oh, that was a while back.
Yeah. So, or maybe I think it was the death of
something like that. I remember a trailer.
Echo, the Frisbee VR game. Yeah. That I think that was the last VR story I did. So I kind of wanted to come back and do something else. But yeah, that's the biggest news in VR right now. Net neutrality.
Yeah,
rooting for you.
Let's go censorship.
Yo, shut the fuck up. Shut up. But yeah, man. So you know, fucking follow us on the socials. What are
Earth
they?
Mind
Frankie?
Matter Pod. Earth Mind Matter Pod on Instagram and TikTok. Maybe not TikTok anymore in the future. And Earth Mind Matter on YouTube. And yeah, fucking that's
Watch us on YouTube. We're
it.
finally throwing the episodes up there.
Yeah, we are.
So those episodes are totes there.
Hell yeah. I look down here so much instead of the camera. Out of the time. But yeah, fucking follow us, listen to us. If you are, thank you so much. To the people we mentioned at the beginning, Louis, Nicholas, Lauren, even fucking everyone, bro. Thank you so much. Akron, Ohio, whatever, bro.
And also for next episode, for the AMC section, we'll be on our movie episode.
Yes, we will.
Where we will be looking at
Who's
Who's Gonna Call?
I'm just a
We're doing Ghostbusters.
Peace.